Okay, now that I have my mic on, name's Kevin Cheney. Here's my blacksmith shop, Red Maple Forge, and today is Tool Tuesday. And if you haven't been here before on a Tuesday, Tuesdays I make tools for my blacksmith shop. Most of the time I remember my mic before starting, but today, it's all good. So today I'm going to be making flatbed tongs. If you've been here before, you have seen me use these. They are called flatbed tongs because the little end that grabs stuff is flat. This pair is actually the first pair of tongs I ever made during a blacksmith course I took. And I'm going to be doing the exact same thing I did with those on these guys. I am making the size a little bit different than those. Currently, they're made to be completely flat. This is for my 1/8 inch sheet metal. But also they have a little bit of a dimple inside. Hopefully I can show you. They have a little dimple inside. So that allows me to hold my 1/4 inch stock. So I'm going to make one that actually holds 1/4 inch flat. And as you can see, I love my coffee. So how we're going to be starting is 2 pieces of 1/2 inch square. Length doesn't really matter. I have 1.5 foot. Length doesn't really matter as long as you have enough length to make the whole thing. I normally go a little bit longer than I need. Can always cut it off. If you are doing this where you don't have tongs, then you might want longer pieces, just so you don't have to actually get out a pair of tongs to actually make them. I most likely will be grabbing a glove eventually. I do plan on doing the holes by punching them and not drilling them out. Of course, you can drill them out if you want to. So we're just gonna get these heated up, and pretty well, if you have caught my other Tuesday streams where I've made tongs, you know that I go kind of a process of making a tong blank. So I'll be doing the exact same thing with this. That's how I make a lot of my tongs, if not every one. I think there's only the odd one that I do a little differently. But the main process is pretty well the same. Now, if you don't have 1/2 inch square, you can make these exact tongs with 3/4 inch round. And I'm sorry for anyone that is not imperial and needs metric. So, 13 millimeter I'm using right now in the square. 20 millimeter round. So we'll get those heated up and we'll get going. Safety glasses. So, yeah. I got the shelf put up. How do you like it? I might add lights above it just to, like the light that I currently have back here. I might move it a little bit more back. I don't know. I have to experiment with that because I don't know how that's going to affect the lighting with the camera. Unfortunately, as you can tell, like this is my center beam and the joists are above it. So I don't have much clearance above me. So recording in this spot is not the best. I try as good as I can with the lighting. That's why you'll notice some, brightness change and all that. Definitely my anvil shot is a little bit more of a clearer shot. I can control the light a little bit better with it, unless it's really sunny out. So if you don't know, I'm on Twitch and YouTube. I got my chats open. So if you have any questions, comments, you can put it up there if you're watching this live. If you're watching this afterwards and you like it, hit that like button, subscribe. I'm here every day on weekdays on 1:30 Eastern time. So yeah, and each day of the week I kind of am trying to figure out kind of theme for each day. So if there's something that you prefer more, so if you're really interested in the tool making side of blacksmithing, then Tuesdays are going to be the day for you. If you're just looking for random projects, then maybe Friday, where I take scrap metal or drop steel from my rack over there and just make some random stuff. That might be for you. Monday, I do maintenance around the shop. So with that is either, you know, fixing my compressor I've done once. I got my bandsaw that needs to get worked on, cleaning up my tools and stuff. If you caught yesterday's stream, you would know that I did rework my dies a little bit for my press. Yeah. The other days I haven't figured, like Wednesday and Thursday, I haven't figured out yet what I want to do on those specific days. So if you have any areas that you want me to cover a little bit more, you know, put it in your comment below. Put it in the chat if you're live with me. I have been toying around with the idea of doing reviews, but they're going to be more like open boxes if I do one every week. So yeah, lots of ideas. There's a possibility that one day, like either the Wednesday or Thursday, I'll do restocking, so like my regular products that I sell online. I'm actually going to turn up the heat a little bit on this, just so I can get going. Doing a pair of tongs in, you know, an hour and a half. I'm getting there. I will be using the press to draw out the reins, or the handles on it. Sorry about that. So we'll just give it a little bit more heat on that, and we'll get going on it. So I'll be working on both sides of the tongs at one, like in the forge right now. If I was doing this for more customized tongs, I probably would only do one side at a time. So anyways, I'm going to be grabbing about an inch of steel on the anvil. And I'm going to do half on, half off blows right on the edge of the anvil. I'm trying to set a shoulder down. And once I set that shoulder, I kind of want to keep making sure that is where I'm keeping it against the anvil. I don't want to get any real like cold shuts or anything like that, so I don't want to move my shoulder that much. What I'm looking for is about half the thickness, or a 1/4 inch. I'm going to try and keep everything straight. If it does get a little bit out of straightness, take your time and clean that up. So we're just working that shoulder. And I'll do the same on the other one. So both sides of these tongs are going to be the exact same. I'm not doing too much on bringing this back down to the parent steel from a width point of view. I actually want it to spread out a little bit. I'm just letting the steel spread as much as it wants to, using my flat side of my cross peen. If I do notice one side's a little bit like going a little bit more up, I will bring that in a little bit. I want to keep my sides straight, but I'm going to let that steel spread out a little bit. Not too much though. So these guys were actually made the exact same size, so 1/2 inch, and they're a little bit wider than 1/2 inch. There are kicking more into the 5/8 kind of range. So you don't want to worry about keeping it at the parent like width. Now, of course, with me, this is probably going to take me 2 heats to get this where I want it. If it takes more than that for you, that is perfectly okay. So I'm just bringing in the sides ever so slightly just to keep it a little bit more squareness. So that guy's done for that stage. So on the next heat, we'll go into the hinge plate or the boss for that guy. This guy's almost in where I want him. Just a little bit more on the shoulder. And what I want to make sure is when I'm looking down from the shoulder down to the tip, I want to make sure that that is a smooth, consistent size. And I'm aiming for about 1/4 inch here. And I'm just straightening up everything, making it look kind of neat and tidy. The more you spend cleaning up these transitions as you go, the overall process of forging it is going to be easier. Keeping my anvil clean between heats as much as possible. Working with 2, it's a little bit hard to remember. And the reason why I'm cleaning my anvil is I don't want that scale to come into the material any more than it needs to. I am using my 3-pound cross peen hammer today. This is actually one I made myself. And if you actually click on my channel without being a subscriber, it is actually the first video that shows up as poorly made as it was back in the day. But yeah, oh, I have to change the text. Sorry, guys. Okay. There we go, flat bit tongs. There we go. So now that we got this, we're going to turn it to the left or counterclockwise. We're going to come right at the bottom of our shoulder that we just made. We're going to do about a 45-degree angle. We're going to come down right on that corner. We're going to do half on, half off blows. We're going to straighten up a little bit while we're working it. And this, we're going to go down to half the thickness again. I'm going to come back and straighten up anything that gets a little twisted. So I'm going to do another heat on that. Again, like I said before, if it takes you a little bit more heats than 2, that is perfectly fine. Coming in to check where my shoulder is, make sure I'm on the mark. If I need to grab a little bit more material, as in I'm too far back from my connection, I can clean that up a little bit right now. And again, we're not gonna shrink this down, like keep it square or anything like that. We're gonna let the steel get folded out as it wants to. And then we're gonna come back from the tip of the hinge plate, roughly about 1.5 inches. So that is basically how that one is looking. So like I said, I'm gonna do 2 heats on each one. I'm gonna spend some time cleaning it up. So if I got any twist, I wanna get those out now. And I am working a little bit further back as well, starting to get into the rain kind of section of it. Take some time, clean up, make sure everything's straight. If not, I'm gonna take the time now, straighten up stuff, because it's a lot easier to do little tweaks now than it is to do big tweaks later on. So that's how it should look by this stage. So that is ready to get its hinge plate on. Sorry, the division between the hinge plate and the reins. And this one is looking pretty good. Just straightening up everything. We are getting a twist. Come back in and untwist it. And that one is getting warm on the hands. So I am actually going to get a pair of gloves out for the next heats on these guys. Just because the bar is a little bit shorter. It's what I had on hand without cutting a 10-foot piece down. I probably would have liked another 1/2 foot on these guys so I wouldn't have to hold them at this stage. At about 3 feet each piece, you can get away with making the whole tongs without actually using another pair of tongs or a glove. So like with every blank tongs, it's always a counter. I'm going to straighten this up a little bit because it has got a little bit wonky. There you go. So I'm going to the left again, and then on this, again, I'm going to twist it counterclockwise. I'm going to grab about 1 inch of material, 1.25 inches, put it on the side of the anvil, away from you, and we're going to hit down. And that is going to be to start the transition to my reins. Coming back, and I'm bringing it to the same side of my hinge plate. That is just my preference. I like to keep the hinge plate and the beginning of the reins the same thickness. I'm going to come in, straighten up anything if it got a little wonky. Now, if you are doing this with a coal forge, you can probably get away a little bit better without twisting everything. So on the second piece, we're going to do the exact same thing. Take about 1.25 inches. Going to set that shoulder. And the more practice you get at making these tongs, the more you learn how fast you can hit something, how aggressive you can hit something. And that all comes with practice. And if you're starting out with blacksmithing, that is pretty well the main focus is practice. So on these next heats, going in actually quite hot because I'm at now a point where I can do my reins. And for that, I'm actually going to be using the press. This is from a time point of view for the stream. Drawing this out by hand would just take a little bit too long, as I, for the stream, maybe one day I will decide to do a little bit longer stream where I am going to be forging out one of these completely. But for today, we will be doing it with the press. Actually, time-wise, I'm not doing too bad, but I still will probably go with the press for this guy. So, in the press, right now I got what I consider my fuller dies, which are 1.25 round. And it's just welded on. These guys are mild steel. And they've held up really well. So for this next heat, I'm actually going to be bringing out a pair of tongs. I'm going to be bringing out a pair of tongs because I'm doing such a long piece. Like I said, if I had another, if these pieces were twice as long as what they're currently at, I probably could do this all without using a pair of tongs, but yeah. Now, you are doing this by hand. There are multiple hacks to spread out steel as much as possible, as quickly as possible. One is switching up to a rounding hammer and using the rounding side. This will move more steel faster than this, solely because your impact is on a smaller surface area. Using your horn or bit also will do the same thing, because you're impacting a smaller like space on that steel, so you can move it faster. Hence why I'm actually using my fuller dies on the press and not going straight to flat dies. If I went straight to flat dies from here, it would actually take me longer to spread that out than it would be to have my fuller dies now do a lot of the spreading out, and then my flat dies will actually be used to smooth out what the fuller dies have left. I'm just going to take a moment to straighten this out. This will make coming in with my flat dies a lot easier. I should have changed the camera over so you can see that. What I my press, but like I've already brought it down to very close to what I want. So for this next pair of tongs, I'll flip you over. I know the press is probably a little bit noisy on the stream. I don't know what I can do about that. I tried my best with the audio I have. Now you might notice that it is curling over a little bit, and that is my dies are not 100% in line with each other right at this point in time. Or I have one backwards. That might be actually more of the case. These dies should be in line, but I think I have one backwards, and that's why I'm getting a little bit of a curve. So I'll just take it over to the anvil, straighten it up at the colder temperatures. I guess I should have said this before. This is actually just mild steel. You don't need to make these with anything really like high carbon or anything like that. I am going to put a pair of gloves on just because I know those dies are going to be hot. Now I'll just put my flat dies in, and which one's which? That's my top one. So unfortunately right now my press is set up where the top die and bottom die are not the exact same size. There's a slight like 1/16 of an inch, kind of like a couple of millimeters difference between the two. So most of my dies are marked with top and bottom. Some are very obvious and I don't need to. But yeah. So I'll go in, we'll just take my flat dies and clean this up a little bit. Now again, I'm not going to go crazy with my flat dies. I'm actually almost at a point where I want to be with these guys. I am just more of cleaning up the little dimples and stuff that the fuller dies left. I might actually take a second heat on this guy just to, we'll see how he looks. Actually, he doesn't look too bad. I might take a second heat on that, a second pass with the flat dies. We'll go in and we'll get this guy going. And on my first squish, I'm actually going into the hinge plate ever so slightly, and I'm trying to bring down the mass of the reins down to the same thickness of the hinge plate. And then I am gonna come back in, clean up those dimples from the fullers. This one I got a little bit carried away with the fullers, so it is going to be a little bumpy in some areas, but I think it will still be okay. Like I did thin out a little bit too much up. A little bit too much up in there. I would have liked to keep that a little bit thicker, but it is what it is. It will do what I'm using these for. So This guy is pretty well done. I'm gonna flip him over so I can cut him off. And I'm just gonna take another pass with the other one. And this pass is gonna be a real quick one. It's just smoothing out everything. I'm not going crazy. I just had a little bit of the dimples or ridges left. There we go. I'm gonna take a second, straighten them up at the anvil. Take a second, at the colder temperature, straighten it up a little bit. So flip them around so we can get the hot cut out and get these guys cut off. Don't need a lot of heat here. Just going in. Gonna go almost all the way down. Then I'm just gonna break them off. I'm gonna keep track of roughly how long I made them, just so I can match that on the other. And he's gonna get flipped around. And we'll start doing the hole on this guy. So I kind of want to make this guy the same size, so if I'm a little off, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And like I said, I'm going to go most of the way and then just hold them off and break it off by holding it down. We'll get the hot cut out of here. Get these guys flipped around. We're going to start doing the hole punching on it. We're just using a round punch for it. Get your camera moved back over to the anvil. Boop, boop, boop. All right, I hope let's just double check. Yeah, that's good. So I'm using my round punch. I cleaned her up a little bit because it's getting a little bit out of shape. So basically, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go right on the middle of this. I'm going to start doing my hole. I'm going to take 2 heats on this. So there's a hole on that one. Now, normally I would probably do one hole first and then do the second hole on the other one. Just cleaning up a little bit from the press. But I'm gonna take the risk and punch this hole where I think it needs to be. Sorry, my propane's getting a little frosty over here. It is a little chilly out today, so it's getting a little frosty, which basically means I'm losing heat on my forge. So hopefully I can get the hole done on this one. So I'm going to go most of the way down. I'm going to pop it over. Going to look at, you should see a darker spot. You're going to aim for the middle of that. And then I'm going to finish off that hole if I can get it over to my pinchu hole on my anvil. Now I know I do have to drift this a little bit, so that's what you saw me doing at the end, is because I will be using a 5/16 rivet. So I know I need to get to a little bit bigger. So this is the material I'm going to be using for my rivet. I'm just double checking to make sure it fits, which it does. And I'm going to put that guy to the side for now. While I get the second guy done, I'm gonna quench my round punch first. So I'm ready for it. Gonna flip it over and hopefully I can see that dark spot on the other side. Sometimes holding your hammer over it, pull some of that heat out, will help. Aim for the middle of it. And then I'm gonna just drip that hole out. And that should be good. Whoop! Drop forged. So now that I got those two pieces ready to be riveted. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to quench the two sides of the tongs. This makes it easier to assemble and do the rivet. This guy I might actually have to heat up and straighten out a little bit. He should be okay. Whoop. So yeah, I'm just quenching these guys just to get some of the heat out of them. It does make it so much easier when you can actually pick up and move them as needed. And I'm going to take a second to double check alignment and stuff. One side is a lot shorter than the other. On my reins, that is something I can clean up afterwards if I so feel like it. Okay, I think they're going to actually fit together quite nicely. I'm pretty sure that rivet's going to be hot enough now. This is always the fun part, trying to get the tongs together, the rivet in, before everything cools down too much and you can't do anything about it. It's one of those things where it's like if you can have an extra pair of hands, it would work out so much nicer. This is also why I quench. Oh, you should be going through. Come on. Okay. For whatever reason, it doesn't want to go through the one side, so I gotta see why that is. If I need to drift that hole a little better. Yep. I'm gonna try and actually just put my drift through or my round punch through. It looks like there's just a little burr on it. So I'm hoping that I can do it cold. I'm going to just take another piece of 5/16 and see. Yeah, it should fit okay now. Take a few seconds to straighten this. I actually moved it out of shape. And hopefully, this time around, we can actually get it in. As you can probably hear, my forge is getting a little bit colder as we speak. One of my tanks is actually empty now, so I'm stuck on one tank. So I'm just starting the rivet off the side where the shelf is. And I'm going to try and keep everything together as best as I can. Now once I get the rivet started, I am going to heat up all of it. And these tongs will probably look not as pretty right at this point in time. I didn't straighten up everything I should have before putting these together. Definitely if you were going to do this, I would recommend temporarily putting them together with a bolt, just to see how the alignment is all lining up before you do the rivet. It is a lot easier to adjust stuff when it's apart. But I will live dangerously this time. Actually, at what time I'm at right now, I probably could have taken a little bit more time to straighten up everything. That's okay. We'll get it done. So I'm just taking a few minutes to do a little bit of straightening. It will make the riveting a little bit easier if they are really close to where the final thing is. I'm just taking it over to my vise and opening it up a little bit just to loosen that rivet just ever so slightly. So there we got right now. Now I want to make these so they will actually close down on 1/4 inch steel. So I am going to grab a piece I know is 1/4 inch. And I'm actually going to bring down the tongs, or the bits, or the nibs, whatever you want to call them, down to that size. That's that. I'm going to straighten them up a little bit. Make sure my rivet is set nicely. Going over to the vise, open them up again. My nibs got a little bit twisted out while I was adjusting everything else. So we're going to go back in. We're going to set those down a little bit. Whoop. Okay. And now that I'm close to where I want to be, on my next heat, I'm actually going to bring it over to the vise. And I'm going to clamp the 1/4 inch piece actually inside it. That way I can adjust the reins to where I want them to be. And again, you don't need a huge amount of heat in the tongs at this stage. A nice red, almost orange is okay. And basically, you're going to set up the reins to what you feel comfortable with. And if you have to, feel free to pull in some extra tools like a bending fork if you need to. And while you do this, make sure you keep an eye on where your nibs are, because ultimately what you would like is that when you're closed up against your steel, that both reins are like even. So your nibs are right down line with everything else. that is basically where I want that. So I'm going to go over and quench them for now. And I'm going to quench a little bit and then move them open and close them. Might have quenched them a little bit too much on this. And what this does is loosen up that rivet a little bit. That way it's a little bit easier to open and close. My preference is to have a slightly loose rivet where it almost moves down, the tongs almost move down by themselves when you're not holding them closed. So this might be a good, so this one's actually a little bit looser than I normally like. Even though probably these ones are definitely loose. They're quite old. But like with these guys, they will move up and down. They do lock a little bit, but they do move around a little bit quite easy, and that's what you kind of want. You want a little bit easy, but you still want it to be tight, if that makes sense. Like, you don't want them to flop side to side when you're using them. So while they're hot, I'm going to open and close them a little bit, and then I'm going to quench them. Just a quick dip, get some of the heat out, open them up, close them. Now I'm making these just to hold flat plate. If I was making them to hold round or square stock, I would do the little grooves like I have on my other ones. So right now I noticed one of my reins got a little sideways on me. So I want to see if I can actually pull it in without heating them up again. With it being mild steel, I probably can get away with it. There we go. Just making sure they still stay loose. These are going to be a little tight until I use them a little bit. They will loosen up a little bit after some use. So yeah, these are a little tight right now. Maybe I'll go in for another heat and loosen again. And what this is doing is, because you're doing this while the steel is hot, it's allowing those two, the boss or the hinge plates, to like kind of mold together and smooth out. And also it is loosening the rivet a little bit. I'm going to do a couple of heats like that and see if they loosen up a little bit. Also the nibs, they got a little slightly off, so I'm going to straighten that out as well. I might as well make them look as good as possible. And we're just going to basically keep on doing this until all the heat is quenched out of them. Now, this is not something you want to do if you're using high carbon steel like I did with, which ones? Oh, my pickup tongs. You don't want to do this. Basically, you just keep on moving it around as it cools. So we're almost there with cooling them down. I do have some heat in the reins, so I'll quench them too. And that is pretty well where I like them. Basically, when you let it go, it should open up a little bit. And that is your basic flat bit tongs. Not as clean as I was hoping for, but nonetheless, it is pretty good for just about an hour tong that I don't do every day. So that is basically where we're at today, and that is my pair of tongs. We will add them into the rack with the other ones. So that's going to be for my 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch flat pieces will be picked up from them. And with that, that is the show today. So hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something, or at least I entertained you. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 1:30. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.